Hello friends, welcome to another session of video tutorial on Selenium Java. In this session we are going to take a look at how we can use Apache POI for data-driven testing. Okay, the example which I'm going to take today is the internet hero kuapp.com. In that I have something called form authentication. We have seen this example earlier. Now instead of hard coding these values like username and password, I will read it from Excel sheet. For this I'm going to use data provider annotation also. Please subscribe, like, share, comment the videos on this channel. If you have any training inquiries, please contact me at techtrainerraj@gmail.com. Okay, let us flip over to Eclipse and start working with this example. In the last session we have seen how to create a simple POI example. I'm going to take the same example. Please refer back to the earlier video on this series. Okay, here I'm going to create a new project. Go to File, New, Project, Maven project. Create a simple project, skip archetype selection. Click on Next. Provide the group ID. And artifact ID. Click on Finish. Okay, go to that particular project. First thing is add dependency into form.xml file. Create dependencies tag first. Since .xlsx is widely used Excel format, I'm going to create a .xlsx file. For that I need to add Apache POI XML dependency. Okay, for that go to Maven repository first. And search for Apache POI. Select the POI XML. Okay, select the 3.17 or select the version you are interested in. Copy that and paste it into form.xml file. Okay, since I'm going to use data provider annotation, I have to add test ng also. Either I can go here and search for Maven dependency for test ng here, or I can also, since I have downloaded it here, I will go and add them here. Go to properties, Java build path, and then go to libraries, add library. I have test ng library here. Select that, double click and finish. Click on apply. Click on OK. Okay, so now I have test ng dependency. Let me save this form.xml file, and I have Maven dependency also. Now let me create a class file here. Go to source main Java, right click, go to new, select class. I'm going to call this as data driven example. Since I'm using test ng, I'm not going to enable this. Click on finish. Next thing is define methods. Public void init method, add teardown method. Okay, this I'm going to use it as at before method annotation, and this is at after method annotation, because before method and after method are guaranteed to run for each and every test. Let me import the packages. Since I'm going to use the driver across all the methods, I'm going to, okay, before this I forgot to add Selenium dependency into pom.xml file. Let us go back and add it. Double click on pom.xml, and the dependency is Selenium Java. Okay, select the first one. I'm going to take 3.14, copy this and add it under dependencies. Save this. Go back to our class file. So here I'm going to use the Chrome driver. Okay, create a variable of type driver. Okay, first thing is setting the property. System dot set property, and this is web driver, all small cases, Chrome dot driver, and set the path here where I have the driver located, which is in D Chrome driver dot exe. Okay, and then initialize the driver object. Driver is equal to new of Chrome driver. Set the URL. As I told earlier, we are going to use the internet hero kuapp.com, which is this. Okay, driver dot get URL. Okay, inside teardown, I'm going to close the driver. Okay, so far we are ready with our initialize and a teardown method. The next is test. Add the test annotation and public void so this is form authentication. I'm going to call it as form login. Okay, so we have to do few things here. import this. First thing is it will go to this particular website, and then from there click on form authentication link. Okay, so driver dot find element by dot, I'm going to use link text here. The link text is, let me copy this, and paste it here. Okay, dot click. So that is the first operation we are going to do. The next thing is we will arrive at the login page. I need to find out these two elements. So right click on username, go to inspect, and this has got ID username. So driver dot find element by dot ID, and this is the username dot. Now I need to type in the username, send case. The username is Tom Smith. Okay, for the time being I'm hard coding it here. Okay, now the same way I need to find out the password element also. To find the password element, right click on password element and go to inspect. So this is also having an ID called password. Copy this. Again, a driver dot find element by dot ID dot send keys. The password is super secret password. Copy this and paste it here. Okay. The next thing is clicking on the button. Okay, so driver dot find element by dot. So let us see the properties which are available for this login button. Right click on the login button, go to inspect. Okay, so it's a button, so I can use the tag name by dot tag name, since there is only one button. Button. There is only one button here, and the operation which I'm going to do is click. Let us wait and see. Thread dot sleep. Give 5 seconds so that we can see. Throw this exception. Okay, so our example is ready now. So far we have not used any data provider or any Excel sheet to provide the data to this test. Okay, so we have so far hard coded it. Let us see whether this works first or not. Right click and then run as test-ng test. Okay, so this has worked. Okay, the next step is to make it a data driven. To make it as data driven, the first step is to create the Excel sheet and have this data inside the Excel sheet. Okay, so let me go to the folder. This particular project. Okay, inside this I'm going to create a new Excel sheet. Okay, I'm going to call it as form authentication .xlsx. Okay, I'm going to open this Excel sheet and I'm going to call this sheet as login sheet. And inside this I will have username, password. Okay, so this will act as my header. Okay, the username is Tom Smith and the password is super secret password. Okay, so this first row is my header and the actual values for the username and password is in the second row. So let me save this and close this. Okay, step 1 is done now. Okay, I have refreshed this project and I can see that form authentication.xlsx in this particular project. After creating the Excel sheet, the next step is to read the data from Excel sheet. For that, I have already written a method which I'm going to copy it here. And paste it into this. Okay, let me import the packages here. Okay, this is the method which takes two input parameter. One is file path and the other one is sheet name. What it does is it goes to this file and opens up the sheet and reads the data from this particular sheet. Okay, so if you don't know how to use XSSF library, please refer back to my earlier video on how to read and write the data to XSSF and HSSF. Okay, so this is a simple example wherein I'm opening the file here. Okay, and I'm going to that particular sheet and I'm getting the last row number from that sheet and the last cell number for that particular row, which is 0th row. the 0th row is having only the column names. Okay, from that I'm going to store this into this object array, that is two-dimensional object array, because this is what we are going to use it for data provider annotation to feed the data to a particular method, and the data provider annotation should return a two-dimensional array of objects. So that is the reason this particular method is also returning an object array. Okay, so we are going to make use of this particular method. Okay, so this method I can provide a link where you can copy it across, or I can provide it in the video description also. Okay, the next step after adding this method is we need to create a data provider method. Okay, so add data provider, and I'm going to name it as I've given a name called simple Excel data. Now I'm going to create a method. Since this data provider should always return an object array, okay, so inside this data provider I need to fetch the data from Excel sheet. Inside this method I'm going to call the method which we have just created, which is for that I need to create an object of this class. Okay, create an object here. New data driven example. Okay, so object dde dot get Excel data. Okay, so this is the method which we just added, and the file path will be this form authentication dot. Since it is belonging to this particular project, I can directly give the file path name, file path as form authent dot xlsx, and the sheet name which we have given was login. Yeah, the sheet name is login. Okay, there is an unhandled exception. I'm going to throw this for the time being, and this will return an object array. Okay, so let me save this, and now to modify this particular test case I have to add the parameter which is data provider parameter, and the data provider name should be same as your data provider name, which is simple Excel data. Okay, so now since this is providing me the data, the number of parameters which this particular method should match with the number of parameters this object array has. So that is string username string user pass. Okay. So if you don't know how to use a data provider, please refer back to the video wherein I have explained what data provider is and how to make use of data provider with an example. Okay, so now we got the data back from our data provider, and this data provider is fetching the data from the Excel sheet. Now instead of hard coding this, I have to use the data which is provided by the data provider with this method. Earlier we had hard coded these values. Now with the help of this data provider and this method which extracts the data from Excel sheet, we have made it as data driven. Okay, so let me save this and run this example. Okay, run as test engine test. That was successful. As you can see, this method has fetched, that is get Excel data, has fetched the data from Excel sheet with Tom Smith and super secret password. Here I have used the row starting with 1 because the row 0 is the header. Okay, our data starts from a row, second row, which is 1. Okay, so this is how we can make a particular test by getting the data from Excel sheet, and this is called data driven testing. That is the end of today's session. Please stand by for more videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.